Sandhi sir, can you please start now?
Yeah.
We are live.
Vanakkam. Good evening, friends. Welcome you all for this special session of AO Club, which is quite interesting and need of this beat Corona, beat our anxiety. So, of late you will be knowing a lot of new initiatives happening in CAO Club, right? One such is that CAO Club has now come to 2-digit. That is 10 CAO chapters have been there. Now latest is Ahmedabad. From 9 we have moved to 10. So 10 CAO Club chapters are there. It's really a proud moment. And of late you would have noticed that a lot of webinars coming for us from media companies, then OEM partners, all those persons will be getting. But CEO Club webinars are quite unique, where you would have noticed that a session was on yoga, this session was on health benefits, then we had sessions on new work culture, or tomorrow we will be having a session on photography, which was very unique, where we have asked to send the selfies of yours, and the best selfie will be given a voucher or rewarded like that. So new initiatives are being done. So I want from your side also, the participant side, to be there for all the sessions. So when last week myself and Niranjan, who was ex-CEO of Kaveri Hospitals, and now he's in CEO of Dexter Resources, and he's a veteran in healthcare. So when we were discussing that, I was telling to Niranjan that a lot of discussions are happening on COVID, maybe from a family side or from friend circle or colleague side like that. How can we address from CEO Club? So he being Kaveri Hospital, he suggested that why can't we have a session on COVID? So we can give awareness on COVID to all our members for Pan India. So this was hardly a week's time. Then I told Kaveri Hospital means really because Kaveri is one of the leading specialty hospital in Tamil Nadu. They started with 30 beds and now they have more than 1,200 beds, and it's one of the leading hospital chain in Tamil Nadu. So then I was telling that okay, Kaveri Hospital will be really good, and then he was telling that he will try to find out and reach Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Balakrishnan, who is one of the leading doctors in Tamil Nadu, and I have seen many of her interviews and all. So she is specialized in infectious diseases to cure that, and she is having around 10 plus years of experience. And I was telling that will be really good, because no, at this time we want a doctor who could tell us where we are, because when we open WhatsApp, we are getting a lot of things, how to behave, what to behave, and next news we are getting that no, this is not a right thing to do. So we are getting quite confused. Now many of the CIOs would have gone to work also. So work from home, now working from office also has started. So how to go to office, and once we come to office, what are the precautions we have to take? So there are a lot of things which we need to get it, and a lot of things are there in our mind, which is right, which is wrong, and there are a lot of anxiety for us. So these are the areas I was telling to Niranjan we can do that. He was telling exactly, Sandil, I also planned the same thing. Definitely we can do. Unfortunately, no doctor's availability also was there. So then we told immediately we can make a Pan India session, and thanks to Ashish, and Ashish immediately prepared a EDM, and we could do all these things in a few days time. So thanks to entire persons who are behind. So from CEO Club, entire India, we salute the doctor fraternity who is doing a wonderful job, who are like soldiers who are in the war. So we all know that the doctors are now the soldiers. So they are doing in such a way that we should be safe, and happy in our home. They are telling us to be in the home, and they are outside the home, and they are doing a lot of help for us. And especially Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, there is really a tense situation, and we ourselves, we are very much scared to go to office or going outside to market, all those things. So doctors are the persons who are a living God for us. So really, madam, on behalf of CEO Club, we also wanted to wish you. So we wish the God that God should help and should make you also safe and secure. Like they have to help us. So these are the scenarios prevailing in our country. Definitely, I feel that with the skills of the doctors and the team, the frontline warriors, we can come to and we can come back like how we were in the month of February, and the new work is going to happen, new normal is going to happen. So we all have to change our work culture. All those things will be happening. So I welcome you all on behalf of CEO Club, and thanks, and over to you, Niranjan.
Thank you, Senthil. Thank you so much. Good evening, friends. First of all, welcome, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi. I think we got kind of an intro about the club and all that. So this is the team that keeps everybody safe for working from home. Because if the CIOs are not there, the people cannot work from home. The business cannot run. But only problem what happened, like when we started really going back to office, there is a fear, right? So if really ask me in one line, what we really are expecting from you is we learned a lot through WhatsApps and Googles, right? So our biggest problem is we have too much of information. So we are not really ready to learn from you, but we want to unlearn from whatever we learned, and we wanted to remove a lot of myths we have in our mind. Right? So problem is information overload. So we have too much of information on our mind. So we wanted to really clear off as much as possible from our mind and only learn something we are supposed to know, right? Thank you so much, Doctor. And when I was talking to Dr. Manivan, the first thing he said is just connect her to the team and then she will solve all their problems. So thank you so much for coming in. So what we are planning to do is, we collected a lot of questions from the team, and thanks to we put together the questions and she prepared a nice presentation. So I'll share the slide so that people know exactly what question that you're getting addressed. But just before even getting into the question and session, would you like to just give an intro about yourself and about just as an opening remarks, then we can get into specific questions.
Remarks on COVID specifically. You're talking about how we handle COVID or the disease per se?
Disease per se.
Okay. So coronavirus is a viral infection. So this is like the usual virus we get in the seasons, like the flu virus, where you have fever, cough, and cold. So the presentation is similar. The only thing is none of us have immunity against it. The entire population in the world does not have immunity against it. So what happens? All of us have an even chance of getting the infection. And our individual immunity varies a lot. Somebody even at 80 may be very good have a very good immune system. Somebody even at 25, 30 may have a very poor immune system. So depending upon our ability to tackle the infection, we become sicker. So as we grow older and older, our defenses are weaker. So older people die more. As we are younger, defenses are much stronger. But then anybody can get infected, and depending upon our ability to fight against it, we become sick. So sickness is it's a very vague term. So it can just be a cough, cold, fever. It can develop a pneumonia. Some of them can require oxygen. Some go on a ventilator. Some succumb. So basically, how are we going to manage it? There are two aspects. First, how to prevent getting it. So that is one part which I think a lot of your questions will answer it. And meanwhile, when we go to a particular question and elaborate in detail. Second part, when we have it, how do we protect ourselves and prevent others from getting it? So these are two aspects from a public point of view. So basically, this is something which spreads easily by touch, by coughing, by secretions coming on your face. So these are the two main modalities of spread. So our objective should be to prevent and avoid that. Then, if we get it, what do? First is we should avoid others from getting it. And then we should make sure we don't succumb to this particular infection. So basically, we need to keep our hygiene good. We need to be well ventilated. So as it becomes more and more, we might require hospitalization. Early days, most of us do not require hospitalization. It comes and goes off as such. Once it becomes severe enough, we give you a lot of supportive care. We give you oxygen therapy. We make sure your lungs are well ventilated, supported very well. Slowly, body comes back to normal. A lot of times what happens, it is a prolonged phase. It takes around 2 to 3 weeks for majority of people to settle down. During that period, some of them can develop major insult to the heart or lung, and then they succumb to it. That's how the whole system goes. So our role basically is going to be to make sure the body is supported well enough for the body to take over its functions and make sure the person doesn't succumb. So the role comes in making sure everything in the homeostasis is maintained. This is a very generalized term. In other words, we don't have a specific, clear medicine to cure it. So it's not a pill which you can pop up and the disease gets away. It's going to be more obscure. The care is more complicated. We still don't have vaccines. We're expecting the vaccines to come by next year. Till then, we have to make sure all of us are protected. Shall we go to the questions? Because the questions come, I think it'll be easier for me to handle it individually.
Sure. Just a second. Sendil, like, where do I click?
Ashish, are you there? Just a minute.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Can you see?
Yes.
So I think after this, instead of reading it out, one thing is we get too many people telling us to eat too many things, right? So our worry is exactly what we should eat or what we should not eat. Is there any ready-made, ready to use shortcut to get the immunity?
No, the answer is no. So immunity, there are two types. One is called as innate immunity. That is, the body fights against anything which it considers as alien. That means any kind of infection, the body tries to protect us from getting the infection. That's the innate immunity. Then next immunity is an adaptive immunity. You have some kind of cells in the body which specifically fights against that particular virus. Now, for this particular infection, you don't have any specific immunity because all of us have not been exposed to it. So next comes innate immunity. Lot of things can improve innate immunity, but we don't have evidence to say this one does more, this one does less. We don't know. And whether any of them do some harm, we're really not sure. So zinc, vitamins are fine. If you ask me about Carbasiracodenir and arsenic album, I have no idea. They're not allopathic, and I don't recommend to any of my patients. None of my family members take it.
Oh, that's good. Because we were trying to buy the immunity, at any cost. So that was the biggest challenge. So
that doesn't happen. It's not so easy. That's the problem.
And then the second thing we really talk about is is there because even some of my friends who got really affected, they said Niranjan, don't need to go, I've taken paracetamol and I'm fine. After 2 days things happen, etc. So again, I think it's kind of a shortcut. So when exactly we should see a doctor, and when, because going to the hospital also it's a challenge now, right? So at what stage we should go to the doctor? Or can we try this, reduce the fever, or can we manage the temperature, etc. at home?
Contrary to the common belief, this is not an acute condition. So there will be a lot of news about sudden deaths. In this particular infection, sudden death is actually quite uncommon. So patients develop fever, they'll have slowly progressive lung involvement, and then at a point of time, the body is not able to take it. Heart is not able to take the low oxygen. That's when the heart stops. So it actually goes on for days at a stretch. The problem is it is so slow that most of us do not predict it. You get so used to it. You assume that you're fine and you don't go to the hospital. Only when you check your oxygenation, you realize you're sick. So first 2 days, nobody really becomes sick. If you have a sore throat, fever, body pains, first 2 days, you're fine. If it crosses 2 to 3 days, in fact, we say even up till 5 days, you're relatively safe. If you're not well, you're feeling uneasy, uncomfortable after that, you really need to go meet a doctor. Let's take it as a time interval of 48 hours because most of the tests are predictive after that. After 48 hours, if a fever persists, you feel uneasy, you feel some kind of a cough, some breathing difficulty, please visit your doctor. They will be able to assess you. You might require a throat swab for testing. You might require some blood test. And if it's more than 5-7 days, they will do a CT test also to risk stratify you. All these are important for two reasons. First, diagnosing. Second, prognostication. We need to assess which patient will become all right, who will progress on to become sick. Unless we have a physically see the patient and also assess these investigation, we won't be able to tell you that.
So, generally, like I think out of anxiety, I really want to represent that is, we have the golden hours and rush hours in, cardiac problem or other problems, right? So, is that like the fear is, oh, if in case if you had met the doctor, ahead of time or on time, maybe we could have, got cured. So that is one of the reason why even for small symptoms we reach. So, probably this question also like, covers that. So, I think, as you rightly said, instead of getting panicked and just because of some small symptom or some kind of fear, we shouldn't end up being in the hospital. Am I right?
Yes, because there are problems with bed also, and we can't have asymptomatic patient for long time. So it is actually counterproductive.
That's maybe it's not in this question, but one of my very close friends, is a journalist, and in the entire TV channel, everybody got infected. But what she told me, like after 2 days, when she was found positive in Noida and she got admitted. After 2 days, she got discharged and she came home because once they did the testing and they found her negative. So, is there a way that after 2 days of finding positive, like you're able to still, I mean, so you can just see, you can report negative, you can go back home. Is there an
Even
option?
the next day you can be next day you can be negative. That doesn't mean you're infected, because all these tests are very relative, and the maximum infectiousness in the first 5 days, and that's the time your test will be positive. If you go around 10 days, even with a bad pneumonia, your test will still be negative. So it is not a very simple mathematics. It's a bit very complicated. That's the reason people don't seem to understand it. Younger people have a very brief course of illness. The illness can last anywhere between 1 to 3 days. So they have a mild sore throat or a mild fever. Fever won't even touch 101, 102. It settles down in a couple of days and they become completely all right. Those who develop a lung infection, that's called pneumonia, they have fever for a longer time, which may last for 5 to 7 days, may go up to 10 days. Once a fever causes that, the mortality also grows up. So it is, what do you say, it's a spectrum. One end you have people who have no symptoms, other hand you have persistent fever and breathlessness coming back very sick. So in between is a huge spectrum, and those who have a mild infection can be transiently having this PCR positive. You'll find some with classical symptoms with the PCR being negative. We still assume they are deceased and keep them in isolation to just prevent spread, because most of them will be all right.
That's great, doctor. I think all these our friends are here, the digital heads. For them, everything is 0 and 1. So that's why either we are sick or we are, we are not sick. So thanks for that. So again, like now, we started going to the office. At least 50% of our CEOs are already in the office and things like that. So some of them, like I think in the 40s, because by the time we become CIO, we are already 40s, etc. So how do we really, specifically the diabetic patients? So what is your advice?
Control your sugars well. That is very important, because what we know is uncontrolled sugars, the disease becomes much worse. The mortality is higher. So if your sugars are uncontrolled till now, make sure it gets controlled at least now.
So is there a kind of guidance you would give, like if any of the office going people are like a diabetic, so is it advisable for us to stay back at home, not to take a chance of going to the office? Would that be an advice?
Be careful, but how long will you stay at home? The answer is, I don't have a definite answer to that question. Maybe during the peak you can take some time off, but then this is going to stay for a long time. So I don't know. This is a very difficult question to answer. Everybody keeps answering whether it can stay home for 2 weeks or 4 weeks. I don't know. Maybe at the peak, maybe you can stay at home for a couple of weeks, but then we will have to make sure that we are safe. Avoid touching the surfaces, make sure you wear a mask, make sure your sugars are controlled, follow all the precautions. All of you, please check your HbA1c. Our target HbA1c is less than 7. So as it becomes more and more, 8, 9 and all, your chance of becoming sick increases.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And staying home also is not very easy, doctor. You ask me. So
people get really restless.
Okay.
Everybody stayed home at lockdown. Now everybody wants to work.
Yes, it's very difficult to stay at home. Yeah. So other thing is like somewhere I read like it's a 6 feet, somewhere 3 feet, somewhere 2 feet, and if I go to the market, I see people are hitting each other. So what exactly is this distance, and practically how do we handle it, especially in the office? People are sitting very close to each other, etc. And do you really suggest, like, if I'm sitting in the office and somebody's sitting next to me, should I wear the mask throughout the day?
First, yes, 3 feet should be enough. Please fix the chairs in the office because we all become complacent. As a species, we have survived staying together. We have huddled together and survived. So it comes in our blood. We're all used to staying together and huddling together. So suddenly distancing is not easy. So please fix the chairs. Make sure they cannot move the chairs easily. And let it be 1 meter. That's 3 feet distance between each of them. Despite the chairs being in a fixed position, everybody has to wear a mask. Because normally when we cough, it aerosolizes for around a meter because the droplets are bigger. But let's say somebody shouts, somebody sings. Sometimes there's a chance in a closed atmosphere, which is completely air conditioned, it can go for a longer distance. So masking decreases the aerosol production or transmission to another person. So you have to mandatorily wear a mask and maintain 1 meter distance. Both are equally important.
Oh, thank you. That's good. Okay, so we see that corporates coming and doing it, and a lot of buildings that are trying to do it. So how effective is fumigation? Is it really like in a common man language, will it really kill the virus? So what is the advantage of this?
It actually does not, because it's like when the viral load is extremely high, where there is a very significant chance of aerosolization, there may be a brief benefit. For example, let's say you are collecting your throat swab sample in a closed area, then aerosolization, then doing something like this may help. But otherwise, this fumigation, we have not had any proof that fumigation decreases the chance of disease spread. Surface cleaning definitely helps, because to clean the surface, the virus goes off. Fumigating, you're really not sure how much stands on the surface. So how effective fumigation is, I'm not sure. It can be used as an add-on measure. It cannot be the only measure used to clean a place.
Okay, maybe it's a psychological effect that maybe you're clean, you're sitting in a clean environment.
We are so much used to the fogging with mosquitoes, no? Once you go around it, you feel secure.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I remember, like, March when I came back from US, so people are telling, and then they'll be checking you in the airport. So take some kind of paracetamol so your temperature will be less, so you will not be quarantined or isolated. So then I was reading WHO's thing. I thought, like, a lot of rumors. So even in my own WhatsApp DP, I was trying to put it, like, as a measure to everyone, what are the myths and facts. So I was referring to WHO's myths and facts, and I was doing it. Now people are asking, even WHO's things keep changing. So where do we going to really find? So what is the source? How much we have to really depend and trust the WHO's guidelines?
So you want to trust WhatsApp forwards more? See, the
No,
point is,
I thought WHO's, I was trying to use WHO to really undo the WhatsApp forward. But now
it's probably the best available now. See, it's a new disease. None of us know, and the evidence keeps coming. So, and evidence keeps changing. So one thing about humanity is we all want a pill to solve our problems. Other things are very difficult. Taking a pill or a shot is the easiest way out. So, but we don't have enough evidence. We don't have enough material. We are learning more and more about the virus as time evolves. As the evidence builds up, the guidelines keep changing. I'm expecting it to change more and more. So, but take my word, the most reliable source among everything is WHO, because it's unbiased. So other things will be much more biased. But take my word, it will keep on changing. Now they're talking about some steroids. Next they say steroids increases a chance of problem. They're saying Kabasurakudina, then they say it will not be there. HCQS, no HCQS. This will keep happening because it is a new disease. We don't know. Nobody in the world knows. We are learning. And of the lot, this will be the most reliable option for anybody. Please use WHO.
That's good, Doctor. Thank you. So, like, one of the guidelines were like to use Arogya Setu and things like that, right? So problem we got it is like somebody crossed, and maybe I had just crossed somebody, and they had the they were positive. So then I was rated as percentage of infection is more and all that. So how do we really, like, know a person, like if somebody's sitting next to us or traveling or somewhere, is there a way to really know that the asymptomatic person, or is there other than app, are there any other ways of doing it?
No, even if he sits in front of me, even as a doctor, I wouldn't be able to differentiate. Because remember, one end, this is a respiratory tract infection like any other respiratory tract infection. Only the test is going to tell me that. An asymptomatic person will not have any symptoms at all. So there is no way or no device which can predict an asymptomatic person. The only way you can pick it up is doing a throat swab. And then imagine doing throat swab for every person in the world. It's impossible. But the good thing to know is asymptomatic people do not spread much. It's the pre-symptomatic who spread much. That is, if I'm going to develop corona tomorrow, I will be spreading it more today. And this group may not have major symptoms, they'll be going around. And masking essentially prevents the pre-symptomatic people to spread it to others. That is the logistic behind universal masking. Asymptomatic people may carry the virus for a longer period of time, but they don't become really sick. They don't have symptoms. The spread also is less.
Okay, that's good. So there are again, like, thanks to Facebook and WhatsApp, somebody with mask, went on jog and they died, they could not breathe and all that. So first of all, should we even walk and jog? If at all we have to do, like, can we really, should we really use mask?
Yes, please use a mask when you walk and jog. Your normal cloth mask should do. If at all, at the maximum, a surgical mask. But I would say anybody non-medical person, a regular cloth mask should do. Please use them. Make sure you have at least a meter distance from the people jogging or walking with you. It is a droplet which stays in the air for a brief period of time. When it is airy, when it is sunny, it dries off very fast. In a cold, humid space, it stays for a longer time. So as it stays in there, there's a chance that you might go across it and get infected. To prevent that, please wear a mask. Make sure you maintain distance from the next person.
Okay, so there was another, I think, Indian doctor from somewhere in US, like I just read it, like, do's and don'ts, etc. So one of the points he mentioned was, if nobody's around, then don't need to wear the mask. Only if you are around people, you do it. Don't just wear the mask when you're running around your house and nobody's around. You don't need to wear it. So is that true by any chance?
Yes, but if it's going to be your house, fine. If you're going to jog in, like, how can you be sure that there's going to be nobody in the beach or somewhere else? Inside your house, so in your own garden, it's different. But once you leave the place, please make sure whenever you come in contact with people from outside, please wear a mask.
Okay. Yeah, so I think you already talked about this, but what I see is, yesterday I was in the place like this. People are selling this mask for, like, and in fact they are putting on the street and they're selling it for 10 rupees, 15 rupees, and they're just using their whatever the clothes that they have it at home. They're creating a mask kind of a thing. So is it really like?
Yes,
is it really
that's it. Just there is no role for N95. N95 is a mask for medical people. It is very, very uncomfortable to wear. By the time I remove my N95, I'm actually panting. That's a normal response. If you're comfortable with N95, very likely you're wearing it more like a regular mask. You're essentially wasting it away. It gives you a false security. So basically, a cloth mask or a normal 3-ply mask is more than enough. If you don't have a mask, if you have to go down, please wear a kerchief around your face. Even that is enough. Basically, what you're trying to do is, when you sneeze, you're trying to prevent it from going out, sneezing or coughing. If you come across a particle, you want a barrier from your nose and mouth. That's it. We are not expecting anything more. Any regular mask is enough, or even a handkerchief should do.
So one again, taking reference to one famous video was coming, like, somebody is wearing a N95 mask and they're, then they're trying to put up a candle and, it was not happening. With normal cloth mask, it's happening, etc. So what they're trying to justify that, the air goes out of a normal cloth, and also the same way virus can go in. So that means that's again fake, right? It's not
what,
right.
Yes, the point is, in the hospital, we are in close contact with a patient who keeps coughing or on a ventilator. So we require an N95 mask because we come in contact with somebody with a very high viral load, which is sneezing out. What is the chance of that happening in a community when you're maintaining your distance? Literally zero. So essentially maintain a meter's distance and wear a cloth mask. We go near a patient, we give them care. We cannot maintain the 1 meter distance. It's aerosolized in the room. We don't have a choice. If I had a choice, I wouldn't even do that. Then we need to wear an N95. So that is the difference.
Okay.
And remember, N95 mask is not easy to wear. It's technically difficult to.
Got it. Got it. So if I'm going to market, I'm trying to buy vegetable. For example, I'm going to Panama Nilayam. Like I've seen a lot of people. I don't think I see 3 feet distance kind of maintenance, because the way people go around inside the shop. So there, would the cloth mask would really make sense?
If both of you are masked, it makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah, so day for yesterday, even in this group also, I've seen like in our WhatsApp group, that in Chennai, that's a new virus coming. Then there is new trace of virus, which was earlier in Rajasthan and Maharashtra and all that. So is it all like other multiple variants, and should we really worry about it? Because there was a stand that variant had more, kind of fatality versus the what initially we had in Chennai. Now even we picked up that particular variant, etc. Is it true?
No. There will always be some mutation. Every cell, when it divides, will malfunction a bit. So there will be some minor variation. For a major variation to happen, you need to have somebody to fight against the virus. The entire human population is naive. Why would it have a major mutation? All of us are susceptible to this virus. So it is very unlikely for us, for these viruses to have developed a major mutation. But minor mutation will keep happening. With a minor mutation, there may not be a huge change in virulence. Very unlikely.
That's good. So there is nothing like some recent some number I read at 13 or whatever.
Everybody needs to put in some news. No, how long can we just say corona? You need something more, no, to excite you.
Yeah, but they're scaring us, ma'am, actually. Okay,
That's what media is for.
Yeah. So this is like even in our own organization, like we got some reference of, okay, there are disinfect boxes are available where you can keep your currencies, you can keep things, and it automatically like it disinfects. It's 5,000, 6,000 rupees, things like that. So maybe people who can afford, they can buy. But normal people, like how much of it's like the cleaning, and I don't know, we can't. In fact, one of my friends, she told me yesterday that even she washes the currencies when she comes back from the shop. So what exactly we should do, and what is the process of disinfecting at home?
Washing it running water should do, but after washing in running water, please wash your hands with soap before you touch your face. Remember, for transfer there are 4 steps. Somebody who's got cough and cold has to sneeze or touch his face with his hands and touch a surface. You have to come touch the same surface and touch the face. All these 4 steps will have to happen. So if you break it in between, if you don't touch your face after touching some products, it cannot spread to you. So when you go for shopping, please avoid touching your face. Come back home, take it out, all these vegetables and stuff, wash it. If you're worried about washing it, put it under the sun for some time, because any moisture content, anything with moisture content can harbor the virus for a longer period of time. After some time, we can take it in. We don't have any proof that paper and currency transmits the virus. So as of now, nothing more to worry. So I don't think you need to wash it. Salt, turmeric is more than enough. Plain running water is enough. Please wash your hands. Cooked vegetables, no problem at all. Once cooking kills the virus completely.
So even for example, milk packets, like just washing the milk packet is good enough, right?
Washing the milk packets and then wash your hands, because from the milk packet should have come to your hand. The most important, you wash your hands too.
Got it. Yeah, so now I think even we started getting the advertisements, right? Mobile phone disinfection, there are separate things.
Yes, it's important because you put it on the surface. Any usual disinfectant is more than enough to clean the mobile phone. Take a tissue, put some amount of disinfectant, any alcohol based or aldehyde based, clean the surface. That's more than enough.
Same thing for wallets or credit cards.
Wallets, watches, yes, same.
Yeah, okay. Because generally the problem that we see is like they give the credit card machine, they swipe it, they give it back, and none of these girls are wearing mentioned in the shop, like, they're not even wearing gloves, etc. So the same machines are used by multiple people, right? So
Yes.
the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even after touching your credit card and stuff, you can wash your hands, it becomes all right. Credit card, you can clean it with any sanitizer. If you don't have any access to anything, put it under the sun for some time. One good thing about Chennai is we're very hot and dry, and it's pretty airy. So the moment it dries off, the bug dies. Remember, it is a very ineffective mode. It has to be an acute touch. I sneeze, it comes, you touch your face immediately. It doesn't last for days at a stretch. They don't carry it for a longer period of time. So keeping it away itself is a good way of sterilizing it.
So that means, like, just some curiosity, are we talking about around nearly 2,000 people every day in Chennai getting in so close contact and touching each other with means the kind of symptom you're talking about? Is that kind of a close contact is happening in Chennai? Is that the reason why so many people are getting infected day in, day out?
Very likely. How many, you must have all heard about Ebola.
Yeah.
Have you all heard about Ebola? It went on for 3 years, and we had around 40,000 cases, around 20,000 deaths, 12,000, 13,000 deaths. They were talking about airborne, aerosol, everything. Finally, it was pure, simple contact. Touching spreads. When the density of population becomes higher, spread becomes more. That is essentially what is happening in Chennai. And what we major mistake in a lot of countries, including India, is social disparity. The protection which the vulnerable people require is never given, and they harbor it and spread it very fast. Remember, all our the vegetable sellers, we can't live without vegetable sellers, or milk vendors, or sanitary workers. When they develop it, they are going to see the environment, and when you come in contact with them, you're going to develop it, and it spreads very fast. So essentially, most of the flu spreads by close contact or touching. The droplets do not travel for a longer distance.
Okay, that's good. So this is, I think, I would say, in case our families are listening, this is the most important question, right? Like, one of my very close friends, he was the ID head of largest diagnostic center in Chennai. So the moment he got positive, biggest worry was he called me and said, "Niranjan, how am I going to keep my family away from me?" And they are so worried. And later, when he took them to, I think they did a testing, and even they were found positive. So how do we really, like, be self-quarantine at home? What are the do's and don'ts?
Basically, I'm sure all of you have a bigger house with separate rooms, which really helps. It is more difficult when they have a couple of rooms, the row houses. So stick to a room, stick to a toilet, and make sure you're inside the room, and they keep the food outside. Take your plate in, have your food, leave it outside after washing. Let somebody pick it up, wash it, wash their hands without touching the face. So dividing your area really helps. So this has to go for some time. Yes, it is very difficult. So make sure that area is clean by yourself. Don't share the room. If you don't have a choice, you have to share a room, means space it. We used to say mark your space. If you ask your grandparents, they will talk to you about chicken pox. It was efficiently controlled in our country only by clear-cut home isolation and quarantining. You will find them, they would have marked that area. Those, I don't know how many of you know it, but those, I mean, around 30, 40 years back, you didn't have big houses. You didn't have multiple rooms. There used to be a big hall, a couple of bedrooms, that's it. So they used to mark a place, and the person is supposed to stay in that place. Every time they used to go to the bathroom and come back, the bathroom used to be cleaned. It was happening in our country for more than 100 years. It's the same principle. Basically, you don't want their body secretions to be in contact with others. You don't want the air to be contaminated by others. So keep them separately. Make sure the bathroom is separate, food is separate, clothes are separate. It is possible. It's not difficult.
And is there any specific things that we need to buy to disinfect our homes in case if one of our family members has
usual bleach or usual detergent, soap and water, everything should be fine.
Okay. Okay, it's yet another, I don't know, it's a myth or fact, use coconut oil.
Myth.
Myth, okay. So even today, just now, I got another suggestion that boil your water with, garlic and a lot of things, and then every time you did, all sorts of things. So So this is yet another myth, right?
Yeah. My mother tells me one every day. I shake my
Okay.
head and come back.
That's good. Thank you. Okay, so this is again, I think we already talked about it, but in fact,
Keep it under the
honestly,
sun for some time. Wash your hands and then open it up.
what is the duration of that sometime? Like, what's any specific time?
It all depends upon how dry it is. So if it's going to be like, if it's going to be a cold winter, longer period of time. If it's going to be a summer, shorter period of time. And if you're getting food from outside, if you're worried about contamination, rewarm it, heat it before eating. Because
Okay.
heat kills it. If you don't have a choice, you're getting from Swiggy, you're worried because outer surface will be contaminated, clean it up, warm it, make sure the food is heated, wash your hands, then take it out and eat. All my residents and registrars who live on Swiggy, that's clear instruction. They take it from the cover, they throw off the cover, wash their hands, put it into some utensils, boil it, wash their hands, take it out, and then eat. That's it.
Sure. And initially, I think in March, we were told like, it's there, it lives in the surface for 14 hours. So just leave box for 14 hours, then you can take it, nothing is going to happen. So
No, it's very difficult to say. Basically, you have to understand something. It comes in droplets. The moment the droplet dries, the virus dies. So imagine how long will it stay in a cardboard area in a hot summer in Chennai. But take the other end. You have an AC cubicle, you have a water dispenser and a water tumbler. It will be in a corner. It will be moist. It will be cold. So there the survival will be much more. So wherever you can aerate, cross ventilate, when the sun comes in, the chance of survival will be less. These kind of areas, it will be more. But in a place like Chennai, 14 hours and all is probably overstating it.
Okay. And then in case, again, like the vegetable bag, right? We go and then all the vegetable shops, they give a bag, cloth bag. So those bags, we can just leave it for a day and then we can reuse it.
Put it into your, I get them to put it into my washing machine straight.
Okay, got it. I think it's the extension of the same question.
It's safe.
Yeah. So is there any prediction or any astrology?
Maybe next year we might have a vaccine. Nothing in the cards in the next 6 months.
Okay. Unless our people make something on their own, right?
Even if they make something, it has to have some trial. So 3 to 6 months, nothing is possible. And then getting it in the large scale will take another 6 months. Very unlikely in 2020.
So may not be there in this list, but the 2 rupees medicine which is available, etc. It's all myth only, right? Okay.
What is this 2 rupees medicine? One more information I'm getting today.
Yeah, it's running for like last 2 days in the TVs, and that person has even asked some high court and all. I'm not sure. Like he says that yes, some vaccine just for 2 rupees he can kill everything and all that. So it's going on TV channels, TV news, flash news.
Yeah,
so
everybody says something. Even before Corona came in, one person produced a drug for that.
Yeah.
Nothing works.
Okay. So we will continue to believe that we don't have medicine and we have to just take care of ourselves, right? Okay. So this, the flat curve and peak curve, even like some, I think doctor, I think he was on a TV channel, as he was saying, even Dr. Mohan was telling last night, the Mohan Diabetes, he was saying that he expects that this to get good peak and then it comes down. So we are almost heading to the peak. And his prediction is if everything goes well, September we should be back in means more or less it should have been controlled. So what is your take on the curve and the flattening of the curves, etc.?
None of us are experts in this. Either be it Dr. Mohan or me, we are not epidemiologists. We are not specialists who deal with social aspects of this, like how it spreads in the community. So whatever we say are all hypothetical. We also read some newspaper and books and tell, and it's probably not the right thing to say. See, well, again, this is hypothetical. We probably are nowhere near the peak now. Peak is going to come. It will take some time. Flattening the curve, yes, we did do to some extent during the lockdown. Again, it's on the rise. Let's see what's happening. If you ask us clearly how long will it take, how it's going to pan out, none of us will be able to say that. yes, experts will keep predicting and tell us. Probably WHO will be the best guide to tell us something. As of now, the information is limited. We'll probably have it for some time. That will be the best prediction I can tell you.
Because we stopped believing the astrologers, so that's why we come to you now.
That's what, because those who really treat, we have 2-3 kinds of people. One is people who really treat COVID. So you don't find us in media often because we're too busy. We come in when we don't have a choice. Then people who have a lot of time because they don't directly treat COVID, they have become experts now. Then the real experts on social issues, like for example, the epidemiologists. We don't have many in our country and they don't come to the TV at all. So basically what you hear in TV, probably we can take around 30-40% to be true, even from experts.
Sometimes, someone has to keep us engaged. So probably they are keeping us engaged while you all are busy doing something. So
now
okay,
again,
so
the television they have to do something, no?
Yeah. So should we really is there a thing that we need to learn from other countries, or is there anything that we need to be scared by looking at other countries'
While
numbers?
looking at Italy and Spain, the countries which failed, you should look at Germany or Taiwan or Japan, or for that matter, countries which won, New Zealand, maybe even Canada. Italy, Spain struggled and suffered. So look into countries which really won the war. Take up countries like Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, all the Scandinavian countries. They all won the war. In fact, some of the Scandinavian countries didn't go for a prolonged lockdown at all. They were able to win the war and come back. These countries probably didn't do much. See, there were two things. Those countries which failed to protect the vulnerable, which failed to identify and treat them and help them out, suffered the most. Be it New York in US or places like Italy, Spain, France, UK, specifically you'll see London, where there is a lot of disparity and variation, it is worse. Where there is some amount of social structure, where the government is able to directly help out the vulnerable group because they are going to be huddled together, they are going to be the one who's scavenging, going around, the numbers are huge. It's kind of much better. So yes, testing helps. Where people follow the social rules or people follow the government rules, it really helps. Good political reforms really helps. And Italy and Spain did a bad job. I wouldn't take them as a good example.
So is it because of jokingly people say we produce one New Zealand every year, right? So that's a kind of population we have. So is it because of the kind of less population there? By design they are they're staying, houses are too far, they're not so crowded. Is that the reason, or is it the
what
policies?
about Vietnam and China? You have to take Japan, Tokyo and Vietnam. Population is pretty dense. They were still able to control it. We probably didn't start early enough. Second, we have this problem with following rules. We want to break it, which also is a problem. Third, we really didn't work much on the vulnerable. All these we're having the effect of all these things.
That's good. So I think you already talked about.
Yeah, I already talked to you about this. Yeah.
And I think talked about immunity level also, right? Okay. So is there anything that you want to talk here, or is it we already talked about it?
That's it. So immunity varies. We had some patients in 90s recovering and going home. We had some patients in 60s who had a turbulent course and died. So it varies a lot. Even when 90s with multiple comorbidities, they walked home. So, well, it is a very relative term.
Thank you, Doctor. I think from at least the questions that we collected, I think more or less we covered. And let me see if people have any specific questions, guys. If you have any questions, you can text us. What is your general you have to summarize and tell people what should we do or what we shouldn't do?
See, we should reach a time where if somebody coughs, you should have a panic attack. You should maintain a distance. And the crowds, you should have a kind of, you should not feel comfortable in a crowded area. If the lift has more people, you should try to stay away rather than entering into the lift and going up in a hurry. We should probably rework on our mind. So life has to change now. At least for the next 6 months, we don't have a choice. We need to maintain social distance. We need to make sure we adhere to the rules. Otherwise, it's going to be a big haul. It's going to be a lot of deaths.
So I don't know, maybe it's not that in the question, but I happen to be in a shop like trying to buy some toilet like a shampoo and things like that. I saw a guy just crossing me. He touched me and went. I know he was sweating actually. And I was feeling so stressful, and immediately came home and I had to take a bath. But how much you need to get scared of all these things? I know that distance, all that. Yeah.
That's the reason we tell everybody to wear a mask. See, point is, let's say the guy is less than 1 meter. When he wears a mask, the aerosolization goes down dramatically. And when you wear a mask, the chance of you getting it also goes down. So essentially, by doing that, the chance of getting infected goes down much, much less. So even outside, when the social distancing is not always possible, masking helps. So let's not panic. This should be enough. Making sure, another thing is, see, one is from aerosol, another is by touch. Make sure when you go out, consciously avoid touching your face. I keep telling everybody that it's something like which we do unconsciously. We keep touching our face continuously. That happens without our knowledge. We need to practice avoiding touching our face. That really helps.
That's good. I'm not sure, like
probably I would say I've been seeing cases for 5 months now. That's the only thing which is keeping me alive till now. I don't touch, none of us in our group touch our face. We practice for almost the whole of January and got to it. Now we don't. Even if it's going to be sneezing, it's only we'll wear shirt sleeves. I don't touch my face at all. It really helps.
That's good. And I think some of the hospitals in Bombay, they started even doing a home quarantine package. I think there is a package like how they really help people from, how do we maintain at home or when we go to office, etc. There are devices, there is a subscription, etc. I don't know, maybe it's going to come in a very soon, like a lot of hospitals going to really offer that. So even in the clinical side,
we're doing that without packaging and charging. When they come to a fever clinic, we give them do's and don'ts. We tell them everything. Only thing is we didn't package it and make a business. We're doing it already in Chennai.
But even I think a Delhi Chief Minister, I think was offering maybe a pulse oximeter is given to every individual house. People can really measure it. So do those things really help us?
Yes,
monitoring?
Yes. Because I would say like we at Kaveri are not admitting all asymptomatics or mild infections because the beds are limited. When the patient comes with symptoms, we admit. The others who come with the positive results, we tell them to stay at home, but we don't want them to become sick and come to us. So we give them a pulse oximeter, we give them the do's and don'ts, we ask them to measure temperature. If they have a problem, they have a helpline where they can call us. So that's the reason we have not had patients falling sick or dying. So when there's a problem, they come back to us and then we take it. So we're trying to maintain a fine balance so that, we offer our services to the needy. At the same time, we make sure nobody becomes really sick.
And yesterday I was listening to Dr. D.S. Rana, who is the chairman of my ex-hospital, Sargangaram Hospital. So he, I'm not very sure if he followed that news. Like nearly 400 employees of the hospital are found positive, and including their families. So it's one of the most affected hospital in the country, and because they had a separate two different hospitals meant for COVID, and the main hospital was kept away from COVID. Of course, there are issues going on with the government, etc., because they were asked not to test, and then they were supposed to, treat. So he's one of the complaints directly. I heard him talking in the TV channel was because of the lot of asymptomatic patients are coming, and that is the reason why non-COVID blocks are also got affected. So that was a statement that I heard from him also. So that's something. If hospitals are scared, like about asymptomatic, and that is the fear that when we started going to office, our biggest problem is we started suspecting everybody around us. So that's a fear I think we have.
Good to fear for some time because we do work with a constant fear around us. So we tell everybody in a hospital, assume that every patient, every attender, every food handler, every nurse or everybody is infected. So we look after patients assuming that I might be infected, you might be infected. So our contact time with the patient, we have worked on ways to make sure that patients are not getting infected by somebody subconsciously or unconsciously. Because what happens, people do come from the community and they may be in the pre-symptomatic phase. Asymptomatics do not spread. There is something called pre-symptomatic. I may become sick tomorrow. I might be infecting today. And I will not know today that I'm infecting others. So all our nurses, housekeeping are taught to wear a mask. Make sure they maintain the contact time as brief as possible. whenever needed, they maintain a distance with the patient. They touch the patient briefly. They use all the protection when they touch, wash hands, wear a glove. All these things are ingrained just to avoid the problems which happened in certain hospitals where a lot of people were infected. And we are really working on it because our workforce is the most important thing for any hospital.
And the last thing, Doctor, is there we already talked about the immunity part. Is there any specific food that we should really focus at home? At least our families are listening to us.
I wish there was.
Okay. That's good. That's good. And first of all, Senthil, I think you can really come on. But thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks
and I think Senthil, thank you and thank the complete community. In fact, I know even morning I was talking to Dr. Chandrakumar and also it was. I think we all should be so thankful that you are taking risk. Whenever my wife comes back from office, our biggest worry is. Is she going to really put all of us in trouble? So we have to treat her like she comes from SRM. So we have to really look at her. So this one. So thank you so much for all the kind of effort. And we all really respect you and we thank you for whatever you are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. It was really a fantastic session. Many things we could learn it. Some things now we were thinking this is the right way to do. Now after your words, now we are a little bit confident. Few things now which we are scared, now we are a little bit relaxed, like okay, these are the areas where we should be very cautious and these are the areas where we can be very Vijay, please go ahead, Vijay, for a vote of thanks.
Just Vijay, just 1 second. Senthil, I think Doctor clearly said continue to scare for some time, so don't go out of the fear. Continue to have the fear for some time.
Sure. That is that. Daily when the cases we see, definitely it is creating a panic. But few areas unnecessarily we are getting panic, which can be avoided.
That's true.
Because unnecessary stress and we are bringing and we are not sleeping properly during nights. So these things and all now we can be at least assured.
Yeah, I stopped watching TV, so that helps me a lot. I stopped watching TV.
Yeah, fantastic. That is really a good thing because someone was today I saw a WhatsApp message. What made you to come is what doctor was asking. He was telling I was watching continuously news channels. So first you stop that, things will become normal. You can. That's what is happening. Yeah, Vijay. And thanks Kaveri Hospital for being a good platform for us.
That's one thing. One thing we left before thank you note. So most of the people, CIO community travel through the car. So is it safe to wear a mask in the car when your AC is on or stuff like that? Because which is very important thing. I think we missed it.
It is safe, but if you're the only person driving the car, you may need not use a mask too. When you get down, make sure you wear a mask and get down from your car. The idea is whenever you're alone, there is no chance of you being in contact with some other person, you need not wear a mask. Whenever there's a chance of you being in contact with some other person, wear it. For example, if you have a driver driving the car and you're going to sit behind, then please wear a mask. If you're going to be the only driver with nobody else, no need. When you get down from the car, wear it.
Vijay, you are in mute. Can you unmute and speak?
Yeah, is it clear now?
Yeah. Now it's so.
Yeah. So doctor, even if you're traveling with family, let's say we are in the same house, we are all going out together or something, like still do we need to follow the same? One person has to sit in the front and other people should sit in the back, or like we can sit however we want?
Like if you can do it well and nice, like even after coming from my house, coming from the hospital, I'm not able to do that. My kids are too small. There's no chance at all. Some places it becomes literally impossible. If you can, yes, that definitely helps because some of us go out, some of them are always inside. Can maintain a distance, it really helps.
Thank you so much. So officially, thank you so much for participating in this session and giving us this wonderful insights. Day in, day out, we hear a lot of news on WhatsApp and TV and all. But this is something which is different, and I'd like to thank Doctor again once more for taking off time on a busy schedule and coming and giving the CIOs a wonderful session on and answering our questions. Thank you, Niranjan, for taking off time organizing this for CIO Club. and we really appreciate all your help and what you have been doing for us. And so doctor, do CAO club get any preference if they get admitted in Kaveri Hospital, bed allocations and all?
Frankly, please don't mistake me. I don't know what CAO club means. Many literally push me. I didn't have a choice. I didn't ask details.
Yeah, actually,
Very
for
sorry.
us to do a video, we missed it.
Basically,
CAO
what
club.
we are the head of ITs. We take care of technology and the digital roadmap for the large organizations. So I represent healthcare, Sendil represent finance. So every one of us work for banks and a lot of IT companies and industries, etc. So we take care of the technology, completely, in and out. So we plan the digital roadmap. It's not just the computer and mouse, and we do beyond that. We decide the digital future for the organization. So we call it the Chief Information Officer. So we are responsible for the kind of information in the digital space. So there are CTOs and CIOs. There are kind of combination. So we have association of Chief Information Officers across the country, and we also have state chapters, etc., like your IMA, things like that. And so this is basically the Chennai chapter is what we originally wanted to do, but then the issues common, so we thought we'll expand to the the entire country. So it's basically we take care of. That's why I started saying that working from home was only possible because of the the team here. So and your teleconsultations, telemedicine.
So you guys are probably the who and who of the country now. That helps.
Yeah, till everybody goes back to office at least. Yes. Yes, Vijay, please over to you. You are mute. Vijay, you are on mute.
Audible now?
Yeah.
So like a big thank you to all the CAO club members who have participated in this event. Hope you guys all had wonderful insights through doctor, and thank you all once again. And Sendil would give away the Amazon vouchers if any. Yes.
Yeah, sure, definitely. It can be planned.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And doctor, we will call you for one more meeting, session where you can come and address our gathering, maybe in face to face once things are normal. So we will call you and we will explain in detail about CAO club, and we would like to have the interaction on regular basis. Yes.
I really
Thanks
hope
a lot.
so.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.